Welcome to Beyond the Box. Inside, outside, upside, downside, beyond the box.
Break it down.
Our guests are insiders, now on the outside and the right side, dropping truth and nuclear intel bombs and breaking it down just for you. And now it's time to meet your hosts and co-hosts. Your hosts of Beyond the Box are Brenda Lankarge and Suzanne Hott. Brenda Lankarge is host of Beyond the Box and retired law enforcement. Joined by Suzanne Hott, host of Beyond the Box, Joel's Indoor Arena and Event Center, and White Horse Productions. They are joined by co-hosts Tom Althouse, Tommy Edwards, Brian Sang, and Penny L.A. Shepard. Tom Althouse, co-host Beyond the Box, is the real author of The Matrix, The Immortals, and The Matrix Redeemed. Tommy Edwards, co-host Beyond the Box, Virginia Tech football star, recording artist, and mental health advocate. Brian Sang, co-host Beyond the Box, Full Disclosure Now Movement, fulldisclosuremovement.org. And Penny L.A. Shepard, executive producer and co-host of David Zublick's Awake Nation, The Dark Outpost, Patriots Perspective, and Beyond the Box.
Break it down.
This show is for entertainment purposes only. Inside, outside, upside, downside, beyond the box. Beyond the Box begins now.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Box. Today is June 8th, 2024. Still 2024. God, can we get out of this maze? It's like never-ending attacks, never-ending maze. I'm going to tell you, I was watching a different podcast earlier today, and I had this brilliant idea. One of these days, I'm going to get Penny to put Tony Rodriguez, Brian, Mario, Tommy, and Jessica Jones, all of us on the same show. I got to see how many my thing will hold. Could you imagine?
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy, but it would be kind of awesome. Might have to do that on a New Year's Eve special or something. So how's your day today?
It was good. It was a good day. I've been watching Once Upon a Time and, kind of absorbing all the information from it.
Is it you've been watching that for like over a week? Is it almost over?
No. I'm in like what is it? The season 5 or 6? 5? Season 5.
Girl.
So, there's a lot to take in because it's full of different angles and things that are happening simultaneously.
I binge watch on Netflix. When I got into Stranger Things, man, holy crap, I didn't turn that thing off till it was all over. Then I was sitting there at the end going, no, what happened? Yeah, that pissed me off.
I know, right? Between that one and Once Upon a Time, it's just insanity,
I know, right?
Right?
I am I think it was Denise that asked that. I'm okay. I'm wore out. I'm tired. I feel a little but I'll get over it. Satan will not keep me down at all.
Right?
Screw him and the Baphomet he rode in on, just like I said the other night. Anyhow. So, Miss Lady, would you like to give us our prayer?
Yeah, I want to, you know what I want to ask the father and the mother and the son. And, I want to ask because, for a whole hedge of protection around each and every one of us and all of us that are fighting this battle for the good and doing what we're supposed to be doing, because all the darkness that's out there and the evil um, is being sent our way, or we're under attacks, and things are manifesting out of the spiritual into the physical realm. And so, if one of the things that I learned, Brenda, was whenever, like one time, I prayed for a lady that had a demon, and the demon couldn't. I prayed that the demon couldn't get to her and tell her what to do. And the demon came after me basically, and it couldn't get to me either. And because I that angel that you saw behind me, he showed up at my house that day, the one with the blonde, long
Yeah.
hair and gold glittery, yeah, light. I saw that angel that time. And what happened is that the demons, whenever somebody does the black arts or the black magic, or they do that and they send these spells out, and they spell you, and they curse you with their words, and right, that spell goes out. But if it can't get to the target, it will go after the thing that you love or your friends. So and if it can't get to them, it'll keep going down the line until it gets to somebody or something. So I feel like the attack that you had when you were bit by this snake, I had got a kind of a cipher from some messages that came into the town, and one of them was, it was really strange. I got a cipher of a rattlesnake, and it said, "Beware of the rattlesnake in the grass. Beware of the snake in the grass." Okay. And then the next one that came, it was the one that shows up in my town. You know how they post lost dogs, but it's
Right.
this. Okay, so first came the snake. Well, I said, okay, that's kind of weird. And then the next one that came was a girl sitting in the woods squatting down, and she had a dog behind her, but it was a shepherd's face. And I said, Penny, this is a message for you, because you're the shepherd, and we live in the woods, we live out, and we're secluded, but there's an attack, somebody has done something, there's an attack. So you came and stayed with us, and then in reality, what happened, I saw that you got bit by this snake. So that whatever was sent, and I believe it was sent to Penny, because she's the shepherd, because that was what I told her. I even told her, I said, there's something. And then you came out, and because you're close to us, it came after you. So I am just praying a hedge of protection, a huge hedge of protection, and let the angels watch over and protect us from the attacks of the enemy, so that no weapon formed against us will prosper. And I pray that in the mighty name of Jesus.
Yeah.
And okay.
All right. Let me come over here and search my queue. Where is she? I got the hostess that does the mostest, Miss Penny L.A. Shepherd. Hi, Penny.
Bananas. ¿Cómo está?
And Penny, can you validate that you felt like there were certain maybe witches that maybe were casting
I
spells?
can. I won't name them by name.
There
but
you
yes.
go.
I
Okay.
actually, and it's strange because the last couple of days, people that I have not heard from, or some people that I have blocked, have come through. And as you know, I give people second and third chances, and some of them, they just have to go bye-bye again for the next 3 years and the next decade, because maybe, in a decade, maybe they will have changed. And some of them we keep, and we talk to them, and we try to help them because they're actually reaching out and they want help. Others just want to pull you down by your anklets and keep you at the bottom of the sea. And so, yes, in response to that, and also the person in that was wearing green, like an army green, and I've been wearing an army green skirt also. So I believe
yeah, that video or that thing I sent you
Yes.
was in that green, yes.
And
I live
then
in a military
on
town.
another note, I did go to look today because we're researchers, so we research things. But I did go to research about my father-in-law to see if he had died or not. And a pleasant surprise happened. I
Right.
called San Diego, and the individual that I talked to said, you know, I told her about our shows. I said, hey, please watch Beyond the Box. And she said, oh, I know you. And I'm like, you do? And she said, yes, I'm a fan. And I was like, what? I said, nobody knows me but the CIA.
Penny has a fan. Well, hey, look,
You know me.
this is what I'm going to do. We have with us somebody
So
who's
funny,
probably
Penny.
sweating to death in his shade. Here's Dr. Lampshade.
Oh my God, Dr. Lampshade. I'm
Lampshade.
such a big
Let
fan.
the light shine.
Hey, Dr. Lampshade, leave the light on for us.
Yes, thank you. Take my
I'm such
happy
a big
ladies.
fan, Dr. Lampshade. I'm a fan.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, leave the light on for
You're
us.
a fan. He's a lamp. Okay, I get it.
He's a lamp, and I'm a fan.
Yes, you guys are pulling my chain here. You're pulling my chain. I know it. Yeah.
I told him I'm
Pulling your chain.
going to get a lampshade, and I'm going to be Dr. Ms. Lampshade. I'm going to be Mr. Lampshade's sister.
The apprentice.
The
lamp
apprentice
apprentice.
Lampshade.
Lampshade apprentice.
Yes, that sounds great.
So tonight we have Mario with us, patiently sitting in the back. We've
Yes,
all
and
had
for
a
those
rough
of you
week,
For those of you
everybody.
who don't know who Mario is, I'm just going to read just a little bit. I won't read his whole resume.
Yeah.
But this is from his website. Who knew a near-death experience could create such cosmic deliciousness? Mario is a creative and spiritual entrepreneur who overcame multiple health problems such as brain tumors, hijacking endocrine systems, endocrine, not endoctrine. It's been a long day, okay, people. Spinal injuries, and a stroke, leading to severe depression. Many of these maladies originated from the trauma of being hit by a fast-moving automobile while riding his bicycle on 3 separate occasions. Talk about just stuff happening to you, right, Brenda?
Overcoming. Yeah. Wow. Such overcoming.
All 3 of
Penny.
these accidents happened in the year 2013. The stroke happened in 2016, and the discovery of his brain tumors was back in 2018. So, when you say, hey, Mario, I got bit by a snake, he's like, well.
I'm going to tell you, it's like this. Mario's like me. When we do it right.
Yeah, right.
That's the way it is.
But the thing about yours was just was horrifying. Okay, just absolutely freaking horrifying. She gets bit by the fucking snake, trying to save her dog. She's in a wheelchair with one leg. She sticks out her good leg, and then it latches onto her foot. The good foot. She only has on the good foot, right? Only one foot, and it latches on, and then it goes all the way through the foot. Thank God. And its fangs and its venom, it's like, and it's stuck there. It's stuck there.
Damn, Brenda.
And then
Can't make this
You're
shit
a
up.
one tough cookie, girl.
when they come with the ambulance, then they have to take a bag and put it on it and strap it to her leg. And then when she gets in the hospital,
Take a live snake to the hospital. Hello,
yeah,
look,
and
I
they're
got this snake
"Girl,
on my
did you bring
leg.
a live snake in here?" She's like, I didn't have a choice, okay? The leg is mine, it comes with me. And then in the ER, then they cut the snakes.
And you have a
but it's still like moving
Penny.
around and crap. Then they cut
and
the
she has a
fangs
doctor
out,
named Emma. She has a doctor named Emma
and then they
that
pull
sticks
the
her with a
thing
needle.
off.
Yep.
It's like a Medusa. I mean, I think there's have nightmares even recalling this, That's just like, you want to talk about a bad day, Dr. Lampshade.
Look, the
That was a
snake
bad
messed with
day.
the wrong person, okay? The snake
Yeah.
messed with the wrong
It
person.
reminds
That's
me
right.
of
It was like, this ain't happening today, buddy. Not me. I don't think so.
I was
Try
going to do a
again.
zombie spoof movie, right? A zombie spoof movie, right? And I was
Yeah.
working on it, so it'd be fun, tongue in cheek. And so one of the scenes is a man is being assaulted by this female zombie, right? He's like, help, help, help. And the police come up and run up and grab the female zombie and go, it's okay, ma'am. Don't worry. We know you're in trouble.
All right, everybody. I'm gonna bring Mario out here with us because he's got to laugh with us because
Yeah.
everybody has to laugh.
I think he had a bad day, a bad week too.
I'm telling
Oh,
you.
Lord, have mercy.
Hello,
Mario?
Mario.
Hey, Mario.
Hey, everybody.
He looks so little. He looks so little.
Yeah, I've been laughing with you guys. Yeah.
Just a little. Just sit up just a little bit.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, I'm leaning back.
All right.
Me too.
There you
we
go.
go.
There we
Yeah,
go.
we did. All we could see was kind of your chin up.
Okay. Chin up, Mario.
Oh,
That's
we're
what I
good.
said to you the
We're
other
good.
day. Chin up. You know, the show must go on. You must be on the show.
Hey,
You told me
I
you had
said
kind of
that. I said that. The show
kind of a-
must go on.
right? I said, hey,
Mhm.
you're coming on the show because Brenda was bit by a snake. So, and she's on the show. All right. I'm going to use that one forever. So,
Yeah.
Mario, what happened to you? What happened to you this last week?
Yeah, Mario.
Well, I mean, it's been the last couple of weeks. Just some interesting things surfaced on my birthday, and my birthday was on May 24th, and I had this very intense nightmare. It's a very intense dream, and just since then, I've kind of been in a weird funk dealing with this. And
Can you tell us about your nightmare, Mario? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I can. So in the dream, I'm in this like kind of haunted fun house, this weird sort of like demonic, freaky mansion fun house, and my partner is with me, and we're roaming through the house, and we end up in a room high up in the attic, and there was this really creepy demonic being there who looked like a man, but he was wearing some kind of strange mask, and he had a
Was it
hat
a
on too.
lampshade?
wasn't a lampshade, and it was just like the whole atmosphere and everything was just like very dark.
What kind
and
of mask?
ominous.
Kind of
I
mask?
don't. It's like I
Like
don't-
another
Describe
face?
it to me like
it was
Freddy
kind of
Krueger on
like
Elm
another
Street.
face. Yeah, it was like
Another face? Okay.
over
Leatherface?
the face, but not like Leatherface. It was
Translucent mask, like a translucent you can see through.
no. I mean, it was hard. It's like honestly, it was hard to see because the light was not all that bright, and
So
it was
almost like
strange.
a shapeshifter would change his look. So right, he wasn't who he was.
Like we
behind
blurred
it.
out.
For sure is that it was demonic. I think it was a demon, and so he turns around, and as he's turning around, he tells us the sun is going down.
Did he
If
look
you
human? Did
guys-
the mask make him look human? Did he
his,
look like a
his
human?
body was human. He looked like a tall, skinny person.
But he was a demon
wearing-
inside, behind the
It was
mask.
a demon inside behind the mask. Yeah, it
Okay.
was, and it was wearing kind of like a top hat, really tall top hat.
You know, Mario, what I was thinking
Brian
about
wore the
today,
top hat.
I want to kind of give you a little. Here, I was thinking about something today. You know, we have the Mandela effect, and we have a lot of these people who, a lot of people remember died. Okay, and then all of a sudden they came back, and they're not dead. So I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking, you know what? When what comes back is actually a demon, but you see just a person, but really it's not the same person anymore. What moved into the body is actually a demon who looks, and I'm thinking that's exactly what you saw, is somebody who is really a demon. They're not. The actual person has already gone on, and now the body is the avatar, but the demon is actually took over.
Well, I was kind of getting the impression that it was Baal.
Okay.
That's
That demon. It was like a really serious
I
demon.
bet. Okay.
And he was like, the sun is going down. If you guys don't exit this house, find a way out of this house before the sun goes down, you're trapped in here until the sun comes up. And so then my partner and I were like, holy shit, we got to find our way out of this house. And
Now,
we're running
another
around,
thing
we're
I want,
going-
let me stop you again. Now, when you said house, another thing that came to me is I've been studying a lot about the Norse, and it talks about all the realms, like Midgard is Earth, Asgard, you got Hell, you got Niflheim, Muspelheim, you got all these different realms, but the word Heim, Heim, behind the realms, and Penny said what it was. Remember, Penny, you told me what the word meant in German?
Anaheim is actually home of Anna.
Means home.
The realm.
So
it'd be a
you're
realm.
in a home, or a realm, could be
Mhm.
the same thing. With the word,
Mhm.
Niflheim is a place where all the demons live. And so it's the home of the demons. So these are all the realms, and they're called homes. So go
Mhm,
ahead. I just
mhm.
wanted to
Right,
throw
like
that out.
Jesus
Yeah,
says,
yeah, and
in my,
that's what
in
it
my,
felt like. It felt like
yeah, there are many
I
mansions where he is.
I felt like I
Jesus said.
somehow got into that realm. Like I was brought there. I needed to see it or experience it. And I have to also say what happened to me earlier that day, but I'll finish this dream story. So we're trying to find our way out, and finally we see this window, and the window is open, but it's starting to go down as the sunlight is going away. And then out of nowhere, detective, or not detective, but Agent Mulder and Scully from the X-Files were there, and they're like,
Oh, well, that's
we gotta,
Penny.
we gotta get out of this house. And so, we're trying to get out of this house, and three of us were able to get out except Mulder, and Mulder ends up being trapped as the window shuts all the
Yeah,
way.
Mulder's dead.
And
Mulder's
we're
dead, Mario.
he's banging on the window. We're like, no, we're like really frantic and terrified. It was like
Okay,
high
Mario.
level scary energy.
Mario,
Hold on,
But
I hate
Mario,
for us to keep breaking
wait a
in
second.
on you, but
Okay,
I need to
say
tell you
again?
this. All right.
What?
She has
So-
input for your dream now.
My husband, my last husband, okay, my first husband, his name was Steve Zenos. Okay. The X-Files, his name means stranger. All right. I was literally Mrs. Stranger. I'm not kidding. Okay. So the X-Files were started on a wiki case of xenotransplantation, which is a transplantation of genetic materials from one species to another. That's what the X-Files was started on. So when I meet my last handler who entrapped me in hell, literally, for 25 years, actually 26 years, he looked like David Duchovny. And I asked him, why do you look like David Duchovny? Or should I say, why does David Duchovny look like you? And why does Gillian Anderson look like me? Okay. And then at one point in that, so that is me. All right. But Sam died. He died in January 6th. No, yeah, January 6th. He died on January 6th in 2018. I always forget that because I was told 10 days later, because my family are a bunch of fruitcakes. And they didn't tell me that my husband, who I was still married to, died. All right.
Wow.
So when he died, that was the last X-Files. Okay. That was the season. It was season 11. You following me?
And you're August 11th, and you're
I
11.
am 11. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
you're
Okay.
telling me that
Yeah.
when he died, the seasons died at the same time, the show?
That is correct.
So, and her name is Penny, which that begins with the pen, and the pen is stronger than the sword, they say, right? So, and everything is a script, everything is a word, and that Jesus was the word in the beginning. Everything is a spoken spell or word.
Mhm.
Oh my God. And so
Okay.
that script stopped when he died. That's weird.
Yes.
And you know
So
what?
when he
Sony-
died, that was the last season.
What
of the
Tom?
X-Files.
Wait, Penny.
I was
Hold on.
going to
What?
say, Sony is going to be very sad that it was the last Xbox.
Yes, they are. So he died, and then I found out that was the last season of the X-Files. So I had to watch it, and season 11, episode 4 is the lost art of forehead sweat, in which they tell you that Joseph Mengele was actually responsible for the Mandela effect. Okay, so the fact
They said that in that last season. They said that he was responsible
yes, and
for
not only
that.
that, I was so pissed. I was very
Okay.
pissed at David Duchovny, okay, for a long time. I don't even think I could ever see David Duchovny in public because I'd want to
So
punch him.
basically saying he's responsible for letting all these demons into the avatars of humans.
Yes,
Okay.
so that's season 11, episode 4, Lost Art of Forehead Sweat, in which they call and I know it's Joseph Mengele, they call the individual who they say it's the Mandela effect is actually the Mengele effect, but the guy's name is called Thaddeus Q. They. Joseph Mengele's brother and father were Carl Thaddeus Mengele. And so when I started writing Bradford and Valentine, and I thought I was picking
Weird.
all these names out because James Patterson said if you can't think of names, there's like this name generator. So I took the name generator and I generated like 60 names, and it went and I went Thaddeus. I really like that name, and that was Joseph Mengele's father and brother's namesake middle name. All right, so now let's go back to your dream, because I think because Gillian Anderson, I know I'm overweight now, but still, Gillian Anderson looks like me. I'm 9 years
Right.
older than her. So she was born August 9th, 1968. I was born August 11th, 1958. And like Millie Bobby Brown, is it Millie Bobby Brown? Is that right? Is that right? That's not right. That's not right. That's not right.
Right.
Is that her name? Millie
Stranger
Bobby Brown?
Things.
I don't know.
Is that her
From
name?
Stranger Things.
Is it
I
Millie
think
Bobby
so.
Brown?
Yes.
I'm thinking Bobby Brown, right? Okay, so Millie, is that her name? Is it Millie Bobby Brown? Somebody please Google it.
Are you having a spelling issue? Are you know, like that lady that right
It's-
after I did that show, real quick, let me throw this in there. After we did the show, I talked about the words or spells. I go to town to the feed store and I walk up to the lady at the feed store and she looks at me, she's writing something.
It is.
And
It's
she's
Millie
like,
Bobby
how do
Brown.
you spell this word scratch? It just doesn't look right to me. And then we're telling her, and she's like, and I said, it's funny you're asking how do you spell words, because words are spells. We spell them. That's why they call it spellings. So you should be careful what you spell or what you say or what you do. And she
So
goes, you're
I'm going-
making my brain think too
I know.
deep, she said.
So I'm going back to Mario's dream because I don't want to get too far from that. But I believe that Scully and Mulder, that's what I'm telling you, when Mulder got trapped in the house, Mulder's actually dead. Okay. Because I believe part of that character was my husband, because my husband was a retired police officer and he did work on some X-Files. And Mulder, David Duchovny, looked exactly like him.
Wow.
So, you know, that's not cool for me. Because if I ever saw David Duchovny, I'd probably get upset. And that's
Mario,
not,
I think you're definitely remote viewing and seeing things. Go ahead, Penny. I'm sorry.
so then Mulder and so did Mulder get trapped in the house and he couldn't get out?
He got trapped in the house, and then suddenly he was completely naked, and this massive,
What?
muscular, bodybuilding, blue-eyed, blonde-haired German dude came out and raped the fuck out of him. And it was very,
Okay, stop.
very
Wait, whoa,
violent and
stop.
brutal.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm thinking that my husband.
Anybody
might
got any
be
thoughts
in
on that
hell.
one? Because that is freaky.
It
That
was
is freaky.
So it was so.
I'm
What
thinking
kind of
maybe
monster?
my husband might actually be in hell.
It
And
was
that would
hell.
be hell, right?
It was hell. It was
That
hell.
would be hell.
That
So
domain,
Mulder,
that realm was hell.
Mulder gets raped in the house
Mm-hmm.
because but Scully got out, right?
Yeah, Scully got out. Scully got out. Yeah.
Okay, so I am Scully, and here's what I want to tell you. All right, so I tell this one girl, you know, she's asking me questions like, "What did they do when I remember when I came to you and I said my name was Betsy and I had ovarian cancer and they took my ovaries and I wanted to know what they did with them and I overcame the cancer and you told me that they made genetic anomalies out of me because it happened in Riverside." And I said, yeah, they took your ovum, they probably you know, froze them and made genetic anomalies, babies and stuff from you. So I said, all right, if you want to know more about yourself, just go watch some X-Files and call me in the morning. It's like a doctor says,
Yeah.
pick up an aspirin, call me in the morning. Well, she doesn't call me for like 2 months. And then she says, hey, I need you to watch this X-Files. It's the alien autopsy one. It's episode 3. It's season 3, episode 9 and 10. How do I know these things? Because I remember, because it was very poignant to my actual life. So I say, why? And she says, well, because Scully goes to this house to look for Betsy. Okay, that was her AKA, Betsy. And she says, because Betsy had cancer. And remember, I told you I overcame cancer. So I say, okay. And I say, and she says, and Penny answers the door. And I'm like, what? Penny answers the door? And she says, yes. I say,
Right.
okay, then. So I go to that episode and I watch the whole thing. And in there, in the alien autopsy, she figures out that she was actually abducted by like Chinese military. They were the ones doing the alien autopsy. But when she goes to the house and Penny answers the door, Penny is played by a person named Gillian. Okay. Yeah. So, and Gillian is my age. All right. Gillian is born in February 1958. I'm born in August 1958. So Gillian tells Penny, okay, Gillian It's actually Gillian is playing Penny. So Penny, played by Gillian, tells Gillian Anderson, who is playing Scully, that
Anderson,
everything that happened to her, that everything that happened to them happened to her, and that they took her, they implanted her, which I've got implants, and they implanted her, and they took her ovum, and they created babies and clones from her. That's what happened in that episode. Okay, so that's, to me, that's them, the writers or wherever they're getting this information, saying, we know, Penny, that part of that character is based on you. Now, I'm not an FBI agent. I do believe that at some point I was used as an asset, and I'm not a medical examiner, to the best of my knowledge. I am an examiner, but not actually a forensic medical examiner. I don't have any kind of fate at the sight of blood, so that's not me. But these characters are composites of real people.
Yeah.
And I did escape.
That's how that works.
From many very, very bad houses, and I'm talking to you right now. So,
Mario, what were you doing at this point in the dream? What were you doing? You were observing everything?
I was in there, and both me and my fiance were in there. And then when the demon Baal said, "You guys have till the sunlight leaves to get out, or you're trapped in here," we frantically start moving throughout the entire house, and it's like this weird fucking house. And then at some point, we bump into Mulder and Scully, and together, the four of us find a window, and that's what happened. And we try to get out the window. And so that day, in the day before I went to bed that night, was my birthday. And, you know, I had gotten a massage, treated myself to a massage, and then was relaxing and decided to just see if any kind of interesting video on YouTube was going to incite me with something awesome or whatever, you know, just scrolling, seeing what randomly will pop up. And I've been having, over the last several years, an interesting connection with spiders, specifically spiders that are non-physicals, astral, telepathic, psychic spiders. And, you know, I had one of the most prominent experiences is in January 2019. I dreamt, and I remember the very first time I was on your guys' show, I briefly spoke about the dream where I dreamt about, you know, COVID exactly 1 year before it happened. January 2019, Wuhan began 2020, January. And so in the dream, I'm being put in this alternate timeline where it was post-apocalyptic and the whole world civilization crumbled because there was a virus, a man-made virus that broke out. And then the vaccine caused all kinds of issues. And then so eventually all banks, governments, and corporate, like everything collapsed. And people who, you know, got injected lost their humanity, so they became insane. And so that insanity also, you know, contributed to the destruction and the downfall of all civilization. And so I'm in this timeline, and I'm surviving with a commune of other people, and I'm in a land that I'm unfamiliar with. And at some point, we're in a barn, and there's a fire, and everyone's like dancing and celebrating there in the barn. But I'm sitting by the fire, just gazing into it. And as I'm gazing into it, I get this clear telepathic message saying that I need to go on a solo quest out into the forest to retrieve a magical item. And so I was like, okay, loud and clear, solo quest. I told everybody, you guys, I got to leave, solo quest, I'll be back. And as I'm walking out the property is when I realized that that our whole camp, we had built a massive barricade, like a huge barricade of thousands and thousands of bicycles just stacked up really high and really wide. And I remember this was like the most lucid part of the dream that I had, walking up to the bicycles, looking at it and saying, that makes sense. You know, try climbing that, you know, try getting your way through that. It's a bunch of hard metal bicycles wedged and puzzled in together, you know. you'll break a shin, you'll break an arm, you'll slip, you'll get caught. I mean, it's not impenetrable, but it's a challenge. So I remember I had that lucid thought in the dream, and I had to go through this crawl space to get to the other end of the fence. And as I'm going through this crawl space, I get covered in black widow spiders. My whole body is covered in black widow spiders. And I used to live in a house in California for a couple of years, and it was infested with black widow spiders. And I used to wear only all black. So it was actually very normal. It was very normal for me to put on a pair of pants and find a huge black widow spider crawling up my leg or on my clothes or somewhere. They were just always around me. Had never been bit by one. So in the dream, I'm covered by these spiders as I'm trying to crawl through this barricade of bikes. And I remember, okay, don't panic. I close my eyes. I take a deep breath. And then on the exhale, I suddenly, like, my consciousness suddenly drops into this deeper state where I was now in this fluid plasmic form. It was formlessness. It was like all black astral realm, and I was in my plasmic form. And to the distance, there was this entity that was getting closer and closer. And the closer it got, it started to form kaleidoscopic, geometric shapes of a spider and a spider web with it. And so then my consciousness merged with that being's consciousness. And then she told me that she was great grandmother spider and that we are experiencing a mind meld. And she gave me a message.
Mind meld?
Yeah. So she was like, this is a mind meld. And so she was telling me that I need to begin mastering my telepathic abilities. She was saying I need to activate and master my telepathic abilities. I need to be putting more effort in practicing in my meditations to go within and tune out noise so I can really connect to my higher self and my team. And she said that the reason why I need to activate that and master this skill is because in my world, in my timeline, we're going to be moving into a point where there's going to be so much chaos and so much misinformation that the only thing you can trust for your own personal sovereign best interest is your own internal guidance, which you won't know what that is unless you develop the skills to clearly connect with that. Because if you listen to this here or that there, it could lead you to a point of your death, So, and then the last thing she said was, don't be afraid of my spiders. My spiders are here weaving their webs because what they do is they catch parasites. That's what we do. We catch the unwanted bugs.
Yes.
Parasitic entities. And so then the connection broke. And when the connection broke, I found myself on the other end of the fence of the bicycles. And I get up and I'm still in the dream. I get up and I'm like, that was really freaking weird. So onward with the mission. And I run into the forest, and eventually the forest opens up and there's this beautiful meadow of flowers. And in the middle, there's this cliche magical white staff just stuck into the ground. I grab it, got it, the magical item, found it, and I run back to my camp. Then when I get back to my camp, the crazies, the people who've lost their humanity, they've found our camp and they started destroying and killing the people that I was a part of in that community. And as I'm seeing them kill my people very violently, there was somebody that was running towards me, and I remember feeling like a very strong connection to this other person. Like we were really close and really important to each other, but I don't know anything more context than that. And that person falls, and the person chasing them also had a magical staff, except theirs was charged with black energy. Their staff was black.
Black magic.
They stabbed that person in the heart, in the chest, and started opening a portal out of their heart, a black portal. And then at that point, I'm screaming, no. But as I'm screaming no, my hands on their own are doing this. and I go like that. And when I do that, that entire dream experience, like when you turn off an old TV, it just was some sort of simulation. And I was actually sitting on a chair. I was actually sitting on a chair, and I was on a spaceship. And there were these
Mario, let me say something real quick.
Mhm.
I'm watching right now Once Upon a Time, and right now the Rumpelstiltskin, he took on the darkness so that he could save his son. That was his whole purpose. Well, through the series, he keeps using this magic, and his heart, he pulled out his heart today, and it's black, and there's just barely any little red in there left because of the darkness is taking over his heart. So it's going to completely consume him, and he's going to lose the last bit of love that's in his heart, because when the darkness takes over, you don't love anymore. Okay, so that I was just watching that today. So now, of course,
it's
Emma
very interesting.
is trying to save. She's trying to stop. They're trying to stop the darkness from taking over, and they're trying to learn how to control that darkness. So go ahead. I just had to throw that out
there. Thank you. That's I appreciate that. So now I'm no longer in that space. I'm actually sitting on a chair, and I'm on a spaceship, and I wasn't able to see the beings, but I could feel that they were really tall, that they were big beings. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell was that? And they're like, awesome. Like, they're just like, congratulations. We wanted to see how you would respond. We wanted to see what was inside of you, what was inside of your spirit. And so what I understand is I was connected to this machine that was going into my mind, going into my heart, and also connecting to like other timeline probabilities, and creating a simulation that was based off of what was in me and what was potential, and it created this dream experience. And so that's what I understand about that. And so, I had that dream, and when I woke up, I felt really funny, and I use Facebook as a dream journal. So I typed that entire dream experience on Facebook. And because Facebook does that whole 1 year later, 2 years ago, you posted this, and now we're in January 2020, and my memory from a year ago, I read this dream, and I'm like, holy shit! And I'm looking on on another screen here, and then there's the Wuhan stuff and everything going on, and so that happened, right? So now moving forward to 2021, I find myself in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And what led me there was somebody who I thought I was, going to be, who was the one, but it was just some very complex, interesting contractual stuff that we had. So I find my way to South Dakota with this pure blood Lakota woman who is giving me a tour throughout the entire Black Hills. She's purebred Lakota, born and raised out there. So I had the honor and the privilege of being shown those sacred lands by someone very indigenous to that area. And at some point, she takes me to where she grew up going to summer camp every year. And as we're walking the grounds, I'm starting to get this feeling. I'm like, this feels very familiar. I feel like I've been here. And then I think, okay, if there's a big barn over there, then that confirms that this is where I was in that dream experience. Sure enough, the barn was right there. So then, okay, I have to tell her about the dream then. So I told her that whole dream I just explained to you guys. And then afterwards, she's like, okay, I got some place to show you. And then like the next day or so, she's driving my van, and we're in these random back roads of the Black Hills of South Dakota. And I'm looking out the window, just kind of like wondering, like, why am I here? How did I get here? Like, we're not even really compatible. This is not working out, but I'm here and I don't know what I'm doing. Because I'm from the West. I'm from Oregon and California, and here I was in South Dakota. But anyways, she then stops the car and says, look. And then I look, and off to the side of the road, you can look this up too. You can type it in South Dakota Monument of Bicycles. There is a huge monument of thousands of bicycles stacked up in a huge wall, exactly how I saw it in my dream. And so that was such an intense moment for me, because I dreamt that exact space 2
Because
years prior, almost 2
there
years
are no
prior.
coincidences, Mari. There's no coincidences, and that was a direct synchronicity to your dream. Yeah.
Yeah, super interesting. And so, at that moment, I sort of kind of really surrendered to the great unknown, the great divine. I just really surrendered, and like, I have no idea about anything. This is just blowing my mind. And
Because
so
your mind is open, Mario, and you want the truth, and you're looking for the truth. So
exactly. Yes.
yes.
That's been the primary function my whole life, I believe. And so at that point, I experienced a clear connection with my star family, and they were with me in my mind, and there was like a collective consciousness speaking with me, and sort of explaining to me, why they brought me there, or why how they helped me guide myself in arriving there. And so some of the things that they told me was the reason why they had to play with my heart in such intense ways, through intense experiences with other people, was to really teach me and open me up. And why I had to go through a lot of other intense things in my life was because I'm inherently very arrogant and an entitled human. And so basically I don't listen, or it's harder for me to listen. And so for someone like me, I need my experience to be viscerally intense for it to be real, or for me to have respect for it. And so they're like, this is what you needed. You needed this kind of an ass kicking, crazy, wild experience to become really humbled and realize that all this stuff is real. Because in the years prior, my entire 20s, I went through very intense health crisis and getting hit by cars. So I had many sleepless nights of me just crying in bed, like, what's happening? Why me? What's this? Is because I'm having these dreams, I'm having these connections. I feel like I'm being attacked. I feel like I'm being monitored. What is all this stuff, right? I felt very alone, very lost, and very confused and unsure of everything. And so they were just like, yeah, so we wanted you to have this because we need you to understand that all of this is real. What you experience is real. Your feelings are real. Your psychic hunches are real. Your downloads, your visions, all this stuff is so real. Like, you dreamt this place almost 2 years prior, and here you are. Like, don't doubt yourself. This stuff is very real, and you need to continue to practice and refining and becoming better at understanding these forces and what's happening. And so that was a very intense experience. And then by the end of our connection, one of the last things that they were saying to me is that now I'm fully responsible for my life. Now I'm not, now I can't, there's no excuse, there's no unconscious back doors. I've allowed,
now
I've allowed
time to really dig in and study. Yeah. Now they want you to really focus and study and really narrow it down. And yeah.
So going back to my birthday this year, the day when I had that night of the dream, the random YouTube video.
What's your birthday?
Was May 24th. So I'm a Gemini. Gemini Sun, Gemini Moon, Scorpio Rising. So this video that came up was about this spider goddess. And I'm watching this video about this spider goddess. And it's a darker understanding of the spider goddess. And it was, there's the video was made by this temple called The Ascending Flame, and they wrote a book about the spider goddess, and they walked the left-hand path. And when I watched it, the video was so like the energy to what they were saying felt very resonating to me. And so because of that, it confused me, because I didn't not understanding, like, okay, what the fuck, like, what is this spider thing, and so because my experience has been this like positive thing, right? And so one of the things that they explain is that this spider goddess has two sides, that she has a light side and a dark side, and that she is both destroyer and creator, and she is the weaver of webs, the weaver of fate, the weaver of destiny, and the weaver of death.
Fate. Okay.
Yeah. And so, that happened. And then the week before that, I burnt my hand right here frying some fish, and I had a really bad burn, like a really, really bad burn. And then the next day I decided to take my mother out with me to go watch a movie at the theater. So we decided to go watch Planet of the Apes. I have a handicapped mother. I'm her caretaker. So when I sit her down in the theater, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get us some popcorn. And the guy who's taking my order for the popcorn had a tattoo of a black widow spider exactly where I just got burned 24 hours prior. So, this whole like quantum weird, ways that messages are coming through has been moving me through a period over the last couple of weeks of my mind really bending and being stretched in trying to increase my capacity to really understand these higher primordial phenomenons. And so, that dream, then I had that dream, and so it was super weird stuff been going on. And go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead,
so
Kiki.
when you said that she was this spider, I'm thinking Black Widow, Fate, Dark, and she's both. She's the weaver of. It kind of you're describing sort of what we were talking about. This. Well, we were talking about Emma earlier, but according to the Norse mythology, the daughter of Loki was named Hel, was half good, half bad, and she was like, she's known as like the angel of death, okay, and she's the keeper of the souls and the keeper of the demons and all this. So and that's like, that's the darkness or the black magic that is people are using that energy.
I'm sorry, somebody just said, Brian Hone said, Vecna in Stranger Things starts out collecting black widow spiders when he's a young boy.
Yeah, I saw that. Vecna.
Oh,
Vecna was number
wow.
one. And he's not, that's number one, which we talked about that, Penny. What number one was we think is like the head of, okay, so there's a, what is it? The Daughters of Darkness, right? Or the Mothers of Darkness, which is known as Lilith. Okay?
And so the spider is also associated with Lilith and is known as the Queen of Darkness.
Okay.
Right, and that's another name for Emma.
And so according to this,
Emma's the good, and Lilith is the bad side of this entity that we're talking about.
Okay.
She's half good, so she's Emma. She's the good, and she's doing the right thing. But the black part is Lilith. And in the movie Once Upon a Time, the two characters are Lilith in the movie and Emma.
And to add about the heart thing, so the Black Hills in South Dakota, the natives out there believe that the Black Hills is the heart of the world, and so it's interesting. Yeah, it's the heart of the world. The heart of the world, and it's called the Black Hills in South Dakota.
Black Hills. Okay, why is it called the Black Hills, Mario?
Because of the trees, the type of trees out there.
What type of trees?
Oh gosh, I don't remember, but it's I just know that it's the trees, that's why they're called the Black Hills.
Okay, Mario, we're gonna we have about,
that's interesting.
We have about 6 more minutes, but I think we need to
take a break. Yeah, we're
going to take a break. We're actually going to take a break now, so we can come up at the top of the hour. But when we come back, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about your most recent dream about Mulder, and then I want to show you some pictures.
Because you got Penny interested now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm enthralled because I also just found out. I went back to San Diego to find out if my father-in-law died. And he did. He died in 2022. I just found that out. So, why don't we, Brenda, take a break now, and then we'll come back at the top of the hour, and then I'll bring in some pictures. And Maria, I'd like to talk to you more about the Mulder thing.
Okay.
All right, everybody. We're going to go ahead and take 5. Hang around, and we shall be right back. Just like that, we're back.
We're back. That was really fast, huh?
You know what? Yeah, it was. I was thinking to myself, maybe Penny should have made 20-minute breaks so we could take a cat nap.
No, sorry.
No.
You would definitely lose your audience. This is executive thing. Okay.
It would be like, quick, everybody, take a nap.
Uh-huh.
Well, during the break, I wanted to say Joel came in to get something to eat. That's my son. He's 20. So anyway, he had told me that he had a pet spider in there that he used to catch flies, and then his spider died. He was real sad, and then I had to go get a fly catcher thing to catch the flies. And now he was all happy because now he has 2 spiders in there helping him catch these. So he told me about his 2 pet spiders that he's got.
Just now?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, that's weird. All right, I'm going to bring this in. Now, I'll just read a little bit from this. As you see, that's me. Let me see if I don't know if you can see me pointing or not. Can you see me pointing?
Yeah.
Yes.
See me
Yeah.
pointing? Okay, that's me, and that's Gillian Anderson. Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
That's David Duchovny. That's Daniel, my husband's son. And when they were growing, when Daniel was a child, I met him. He's my stepson. I met him when he was 6. I raised him since he was 6. And I remember seeing a picture at my father-in-law's, my mother-in-law's house. And I said, "Oh, that's a great picture of Daniel." And she said, "That's not Daniel." She said, and his name was actually Michael. He changed it to Sam, which there's a Sam that is actually Satan. Okay. So I said, wow, he could be a clone of you, right? So now this is also, this is a weird thing that happened. When I moved out here, I went to go get my driver's license, and I wanted to find out my husband's actual badge number. Okay. And so I called the Carlsbad PD to find out if I could get his badge number. And they said, well, we can't give out that information. I said, I was married to him for like 25 years. You can't give me I'm now a widow. I was still married to him. She said, no, we can't do that. So I said, I want to talk to your chief of police. So I called back, and I was upset, of course. And so I Google the chief of police in Carlsbad. What it comes up with, it comes up with the chief of police in Carlsbad, New Mexico. His name is Brandon Shane Skinner.
Wow.
And he looks like
Skinner
Mitch
from the
Pileggi, who
X-Files.
plays Skinner. Okay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm freaking out now. I say, my husband looked like David Duchovny, and now I have to call the chief of police, whose name is Skinner. And she says, well, we don't have a Skinner here. And I'm like, I was upset, right? Well, it was a different Carlsbad. It wasn't Carlsbad, San Diego. It was Carlsbad, New Mexico, which their surrounding area that they serve is Roswell.
Well, of course. Of
Okay.
course.
So now this is a little bit closer where you can see a little bit more. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Gillian Anderson bears some striking similarities to me. Okay.
There are.
And
Yeah,
also,
I see it.
Also, at one time, I had my hair was long. I cut it into a page boy. And at one point, I had my hair red. I wasn't watching the X-Files because I was working. I did my day gig in a law firm. And then on the weekends, which it played on Friday nights, I was driving up to LA to gig. Okay. So when John says you look good with red hair, I'm like, I had red hair. Right. And as soon as I cut my hair in a page boy, the character cut her hair in a page boy. All right.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is my husband, Steve. Okay. That right there is Steve looking down his pants. Wish I had that picture before I ever married him. Because I probably wouldn't. All right. This is Steve. This is Steve. He was a very handsome individual, but totally opposite anything that I would have at that time been attracted to. My preference was for taller individuals. Steve was like 5'8", and I'm 5'6". This is also me in high school. It said I married Dr. Zenos. He went by Dr. X. I'd like to say I'm making this stuff up, but I can't. So, and this is Millie Bobby Brown. Okay, I'm freaked out because all I'm thinking about is Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. Okay,
I
she
can see that.
but she also plays that Evan's actual name is Jane Ives. Jane as in Jane Doe, an unknown from Ives. Well, I was raised in Ives Estates in Miami, Florida, and my mother's name was Millie. Okay. My grandmother's name was Millie, and I found out she was a Hitler baby. Now, this is a little bit more. This is Sam growing up. It's a little blurry. I had to get it out of his yearbook picture. And this is David Duchovny. This is David Duchovny, and this is Sam.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
As
see
they
that.
get older, this is them younger, but as they get older, they look very, very, very much alike. As a matter of fact, he had a picture of himself in a magazine because he said, "Hey, I used to model." I'm like, "Really?" And he had a picture of himself as a PI with binoculars. And at that point, I said, "Why do you look like David Duchovny?" Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? And apparently, that's bad because I got declared enemy of the state because I was asking questions in the 90s. Now, here's another thing, and I'll just read a little bit of it. It says, D'Souza talks about the globalist and that on this planet, we have all gone from the age of secrecy to something he calls data flooding. Because with the technology we and the public have available to us today, the globalists can no longer keep secrets. It's impossible now. The method used to hide what they're doing is to inundate us with information. And also, he said, whenever a genuine paranormal event takes place, there are global shops, I think that's what he said, that will create copies of that event and upload them, which are meant to duplicate but appear fake, and usually take down the original paranormal event as reported, get rid of it, and substitute their own Hollywood production level copies of it so that people who try to go to see the event will conclude that it's fake and that it has been debunked. He said one such example was the 2010 UFO over the Dome of Rock in Jerusalem. This is part of the discussion begins in one of his things. Now, I had a little bit of an intercession with D'Souza. He blocked me at one point when I asked him for a referral to the FBI in Oregon because I had a stalker that was stalking me, and I had somebody that pled with me to please call the FBI. I said, I don't really want to. I don't actually like the FBI, but I did. And when I asked him about if he had a referral, he blocked me and said, trust no one. And I was like, you did not freaking just quote the X-Files to me. And he also says he is the X-Files. He said he wrote a bunch of X-Files. He said not all the X-Files are real. Okay.
Yeah.
But I said, yes, they are. Okay. Even the writers may not be aware of the fact that they're actually real, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
So this was about some UFO stuff here. Now, this is the lady in episode it's season 3, episode 9 and 10. Okay, Robert Ito plays Dr. Shiro Zama. Now, who he's actually playing is Shiro Hito. Okay, and he was the Surgeon General in Japan. He ran the 731 unit, which is mentioned in these two segments. And I believe I saw someone that looked like Ishii. Okay, Shiro Ishii. In one of the crazy houses that I was in, and I recognized him like later on, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he's dead. But this episode hooked together a lot of events in my life. So we all have our fountain from Hollywood that we're deriving information from. Right now, Susie's getting it from Once Upon a Time. The X-Files was a huge fount of information for me. This is Gillian Barber. Okay, and she plays Penny Northern. All right. Gillian Anderson was born in Chicago, but she was schooled in London. So was Millie Bobby Brown. Millie Bobby Brown was schooled in London. I'm not sure where she was born, but she actually resides some point of the year in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's where they filmed Stranger Things also. So Gillian, I was born in the South. Okay. I was born in Miami. I was born in Hollywood, Florida, and I resided in North Miami Beach, Florida. But so I would be born in the South, and Gillian was born in the North, which would be considered Chicago, right? To Florida. It's not Florida. It's like more to the north, right? Mm-hmm. So this is an inversion. So Gillian Barber plays Penny in that episode, and she was born in February in 1958. The Duffer Brothers also born in February, I believe, 1983. Now here's another picture of Gillian. I cut my hair like that. I wasn't watching the X-Files then. I cut my hair, and at one point, like I said earlier in my life, when I was with Steve, I had my hair dyed red for some point. All right. Now here's another thing that I wrote. I write about Satanic Hollywood. I posted this November 9th, 2021. I was given Durrell at 17. He is Albert Speer's son, Hitler's Minister of War. Durrell showed me this photo that he had of me from 40 years ago when I was at his place in Lake Havasu in 2016, 2017. I was homeless, and that was the only way I would have ever gone back to see him. I did forgive him. I said I forgave him. And I thought he changed, but he did not. This was his band, Big Business. Who would have thought that he and John knew one another, or that I was John's sister? Keep lying, John. It will catch up to you. The other photo I cut out, I put with Gillian Anderson's photo. It was taken a decade later in John's band. So this is me, and this is the band Big Business. Bob, who you saw in the drummer, that's Bob Bowman. That's Rob Colson. And that's Stasievich, who I always called a Russian. I don't think he was Russian, but I think he was a spy. And so this is Bob, again, who went to school with Steve. That's how I end up getting given to Steve after I leave my handler, Durrell. And here's a final picture, because I want to go back to your dream. That's me. And that's Gillian Anderson.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to show some of those pictures. And now I'd like to go back to your dream.
The synchronicities are just outrageously like there. And you know what, Penny? In the one of the things that was said in that Once Upon a Time was you cannot show people evidence and all this to make believers out of them. They already have to be believers from within. You cannot convince them with all the evidence in the world, even if they saw this stuff. They actually have to believe from within. It's not something outside. So you can't make people wake up, or you can't, that has to be an internal thing. Like what you were saying, Mario, is we have to work on ourselves. It has to be something, and that was something that you had to work on yourself, I think was your message, right?
Yeah.
So now, Mario, I want to go back to let's go back to that dream.
Mm-hmm.
What day did you have that dream?
I had it the night of May 24th. So it was I was sleeping, so it was the early hours of May 25th.
Okay. Also, John's son was born May 9th.
Oh,
Just
wow.
to throw that in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, also, many of these, I think his son is actually a super soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And they can also astral travel, just like you and I can.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sam died January 6th, which was a very important date. It took me a while I actually figured it out on this show. I knew that he died January 6th, but I didn't understand the implications because I actually saw January 6th happen in a vision when I was in Branson. Okay. So my husband dies January 6th, 2018, but I'm not told until January 16th, which is Steve's birthday. And Steve's dead. Okay. So Steve tells me John's my brother. He dies 3 weeks later. This is hard to follow. All right.
Dang,
he dies 3 weeks later. Steve Zenos, Dr. X, not Dr. Lampshade, Dr. X dies. It's actually 11 days after I talked to Bob and say, Bob, I know John's my brother. Because Steve told me, and Steve's your best friend, right? Now we have faces on these people because I just showed you who they are. So then Steve dies of a heart attack. All right. And then 6 months later, it was like he dies in June. I get thrown in the crazy house September 7th because I now know who John is. Steve dies. Then when I'm in the crazy house, my brother Rob comes to me and says, why are you here? I say, because John wants me here because John's son's in the White House. And I say, you know, he says, who is John? I say, really? We're going to do that? Who is John? I say, Steve told me John's my brother. And he says, Steve is dead. And I say, okay. And your point is that invalidates what he said because now he's dead, or he can't go into a court of law and say that, because I don't care. You know, I'm not going to sue John or anything. I just want the truth. And I don't think
Right.
I'll ever get the truth out of him because he lies about everything. So
Mario. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So I was going to ask Penny, Mario, did you say you had a message or you were given information to pass on or something, or from this dream?
Well, yeah, the message was that everybody needs to be practicing connecting to their higher selves, connecting within, and getting wisdom and guidance from their own personal team or their higher selves. So the message was to not make decisions on your life based off of what the chaos in the world was trying to tell you, such as, you know, get jabbed, do this, do that, you know. So like
but what was the message from this last stream that you had? Because I'm looking at it, it's you had been on our show, okay, and you're now acquainted with all of us who are all semi targeted, if you will, by the FBI, the CIA, right?
So
Yeah.
so I have somebody that I work with, a remote viewer who is a super soldier, and her name is Kim, and she has integrated a lot of memory. She's very well informed on how a lot of this stuff operates with super soldiers and MK Ultra programming. And so when I explained to her the dream in this session, she was like, "Oh, okay." She asked me, "Are you familiar with Freddy Krueger Camp?" And you know, I was like, "That sounds familiar." And so she says, "Okay,
Freddy
well, you know,
Krueger Camp.
Freddy Krueger Camp."
Freddy
So
Krueger
in
Camp.
the 80s and in the 90s, there were a lot of horror films that really came out. A series of horror films: The Leprechaun, Friday the 13th, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, the one with the doll, the little doll, Chucky, and so these movies were made to reinforce MK Ultra programming that was done to children that were utilized so that they don't remember. And if they are getting closer to remembering or breaking out of certain programs, then that fear MK Ultra programming engages. And so what it does is it hyper what's the word, exaggerates this sense of terror. You know, I'm in danger, something's
Triggers
after
it.
me,
Mhm.
the boogeyman, I'm afraid, I'm scared, lights are flashing. And so as I was in this session, you know, I was getting very brief flashes of remembering what she was talking about and what that actually was like. And even at some point I remembered something that occurred when I was young during Halloween. There was this one year in Halloween, I think I was maybe 11, 12, possibly 13, but I don't think so. It was maybe 11 or 12. My sister and I, my aunt decides to take my sister and I out for trick-or-treating with her boyfriend at that time. And her boyfriend had a rich mother, I think in Palisades, Los Angeles, somewhere fancy. Oh no, it was the same street where they do Candy Cane Lane out there in Los Angeles. If you guys know what that is, it's like a whole couple blocks in this neighborhood, and they all throw massive light shows in Christmas, but they also have quite an epic Halloween thing as well. And so as she's telling me, I remember this moment where this one Halloween, we go to this woman's house, who was my aunt's boyfriend at that time. And she was dressed as a witch. And I remember she was so happy and excited that we were there. You know, she was super friendly, so happy, so excited. Maybe she was just a kind of adult. I don't know. But with all this, given all this stuff going on, you know, there's a lot of shit going on in Hollywood, you know? And so we did this thing that year where my aunt took us trick-or-treating, and then another adult took us trick-or-treating, so that way we can get double the candy, you know. And during the second round, I don't know how this happened, but there was a point where I ended up inside this big house, and I like I don't know how I got lost in this house, but I came to standing on these stairs, and there was a man standing all the way at the top of the stairs where there's a big glass window behind him, and he's got like flashing strobe lights, and he's dressed like Jason, and he has a chainsaw, and he's just like, you know, doing this. And I remember I get really scared and didn't understand how I got in that house, and found my way out and found, you know, my sister, and we went trick-or-treating. And so then she was like, oh yeah, okay, you know, she was looking into that as well. And she's like, yeah, well, you know, back in LA, Halloween is one of the nights of their biggest rituals. And so, you know, so she's like, okay, so this is, you know, that there was a that there was a ritual. I was taken, I was used in that ritual. And, you know, and so you know, that kind of programming has been recently triggered in me. And I've been dealing with this frustration of fear in my mind, you know. And so I was really grateful that she had that knowledge, because now it's given me context in understanding, you know, what this is. And it's, you know, sort of calms it all down. But, you know, yeah, it was really interesting, really, really intense stuff. So because
Candy Cane Lane was in El Segundo.
Oh, okay.
And okay, this is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Candy Cane Lane, it says Arts and Entertainment in Imperial Highway, is at 1200 East Acacia Avenue in El Segundo, California. When I stayed with Durrell, he lived on Acacia Avenue in Lake Havasu. And also, when he took me back to California, his place was on Acacia in California. That's where, yes. And also, I was told when I was in the crazy house, this girl said she gave me money so I could get out because they were taking all my money. And I said, you know, oh, I just need some paper, pens, and coffee. She's like, no, you need to get the hell out of there, Penny. I said, well, I don't have any money. She said, I will send you money. I said, no, I don't take money from people. She's like, no, I'm sending you money. Then she told me that John Durrell, and she described these people. She'd never met them before. She said, I was visited by 3 men in the astral. And she described them. So they will come to your dreams, Mario. Mm-hmm, and then also, in regards to Freddy Krueger camp, there's something that I can tell you off air, but I can't tell you on air. But Krueger was actually, there was a Friedrich Krueger who was at Ravenswood. His name was Friedrich Wilhelm Krueger. He was born the 8th of May.
Wilhelm.
In 1894. He died on the 10th of May in 1945. He was a German paramilitary commander in charge of and personally involved in progressive annihilation of the Polish nation, its culture, its heritage, and its wealth. Long before the war, he was a high-ranking member of the SA and the SS. Between 1939 and 1943, he was the higher SS and police leader in the general government, giving a command of all police and security forces in German-occupied Poland. In this capacity, he organized and supervised numerous crimes against humanity and had major responsibility for the German genocide of the Polish nation.
Wow.
He was also at Ravenswood.
Something I want to share with you guys too, since, you know, we're all friends now. My grandfather is Polish, and he recently just passed away a month ago. And his parents or his grandparents migrated from Poland during World War II, and they came to Pennsylvania. My grandfather was in the army. He served in during the war. He was stationed in Germany. He says he remembers seeing Elvis in the cafeteria and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And you know, so my mom, you know, his daughter was adopted, and my mom doesn't know who her biological parents are. And so, yeah, it's really strange and mysterious. And my mom, they grew up in Woodland Hills, and the girl next door was born
What
like
year was that, Mario?
um,
The adoption?
maybe 19. I think they adopted her when she was. I don't know. I don't remember if they adopted her when she was a few months old or at least a year old. But my mother was born 1968. So there were a few other girls that were all born like within a week apart in February of 1968, and the one girl right
And that
next
was in
door.
Pennsylvania? Was that in
No. This
Pennsylvania?
was in Los Angeles. This was Woodland Hills, Los Angeles. So
Oh.
eventually, my grandfather moves to California, and he worked in the corporate world, and um, he worked in HR for HealthNet for decades. And so the girl next door was born. I don't remember if it's a day after or a day before my mom, and same day, same year, like really close to each other. Well, she was a Rothschild, and the house that was next door was the same architectural structure as the house my mom grew up in. They were the same kind of house. And so the girl next door was a Rothschild, but her mother had divorced him, and so they lived in that house, and they grew up together and were best friends for years and years. And when I found this out, which was a few years ago, I was like, wait a minute, you're saying your best friend next door was a Rothschild? She's like, yeah. And I was like, do you know who the Rothschilds are, Mom? She's like, no. And I'm like, they're like the fucking wealthiest, richest fucking family in the world, one of them. And I gave her a little bit of history on it, and then I'm starting to probe her brain, and she's like, oh yeah, the dad used to send a chauffeur in a really nice car to pick us up on the weekends. I would go and sleep over there. He had a nice ranch. We would ride horses, and they had nannies and all this stuff. And I asked her, I was like, well, how was the dad like? And she would try, and she's like, I don't even know how he looks like. I don't even remember if I have ever seen him. And I'm like, so you're saying you'd go to this man's house, you'd spend nights there, you ride his horses, and you don't even have a single memory of seeing his face?
Was she erased, you think, or?
So the thing that I believe, and it's hard to really know if this is all true, because I'm just going off of my mind and trying to go into it psychically with having little empirical evidence and facts of it all. But I believe that my mother is like a hybrid clone breeder. And she's
They
been
used her for children, or?
Well, yeah, she's birthed I think 9 or 8 children,
There was a program, it's called the Leaders Born, in which they took children, they brought them into the United States. Mostly they brought them in through New York, and they gave them certificates, that's what I believe my mother was. I believe my mother was a Hitler baby from the Liebersborn, because they bring them in through New York, and then they'd give them, she was born in Jamaica, New York, and they would give them birth certificates through New York. But it wasn't just through New York. So they had these babies, and they brought them all over the world. They were made for the Third Reich to populate the earth. Okay. And I think they also did genetic experiments on them as well. There's a reason why we're all connected.
Yeah. And I think
definite
I
connection
feel like
there.
my grandfather was the selected family to raise her, and they were really monitored in that neighborhood.
Yes, it's the fact that he was in Germany.
The other girls that were all born
there's a possibility that he might have either known your grandfather, might have either known of or known Friedrich Wilhelm Kruger. It says that he committed suicide. I don't think any of these people committed suicide. I think they went on and they lived in the United States, and they had families in the United States, and they had children that from all the SS officers had children with Americans, and they had them with Germans, and those babies were populated and hidden all over the planet. And this individual, since you have that connection, he was responsible for the German genocide of the Polish nation, the extermination of 6 million Poles, 3 million of them Polish Jews, and massive destruction, degradation, and impoverishment of the Polish state. They say he committed suicide. I don't believe that.
Yeah. Wow, that's wild. I didn't know that, and it's interesting because my grandfather is Polish, right? That's how I know him. The story I grew up listening to is that he's Polish. His parents migrated here. They never got their green card. That was always kind of a joke in the family.
When was your grandfather born?
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Where? I mean, when?
Oh, when? Oh, fuck. 30, 20? I don't know. 1920, 1930. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Because the war
how old
in
was he when
45.
your mother was born?
It was
Gosh, I
over.
don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Hmm. Yeah,
So
and
then he served
I
over
did
there and somehow got
I had my
chosen.
mom do
to be the baby.
go ahead.
He served over there and somehow got chosen to.
You know what's really funny? You know
Mhm.
what's really funny is I was approached and loved this girl to death when I was first right out of high school. The richest family in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, the Schneiders. And the lady came to me. She was actually older than me, this girl. She was like a senior in college when I was a freshman. And she was
Wow.
amazing, part of the Snyder empire. And that they brought me to the house. I was supposed to, she asked me if I would marry her. And everything
What?
felt too easy and too simple. And I remember thinking, this is amazing. She's beautiful. She's amazing. She's talented. But it was just too easy. It was like everything's just being handed to me. They wanted me to do modeling. She had jet skis. She had the snowmobile. They were very wealthy. She was the family was super rich. The white dog. Everything is like, but Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I don't think any of this is an accident. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I kind of, if I can share something with you guys, I kind of wanted to also show you some things real quick. It's a little bit of a subject change, but not too much. I wanted to show you some images. Let me find them real quick. Okay, so you see the images on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this image is an image of a demon that I saw in the astrals, and I had channeled this during an intense experience a few years ago. So basically what happened was it was Christmas. I was in Ohio. The girl I was dating at that time brought me there to visit her family, and on Christmas Day, she ditches me so she can go have sex with this other guy. And
nice.
yeah, I know.
Real nice.
Merry Christmas.
I'm from Ohio myself. I was born in Canton, Ohio. Grew up in Akron.
Oh, and that's where we were. We were in Akron, and so so I'm in this intense situation, and I locked myself in the room, and I'm like,
So was this girl from Akron?
yeah, her family was from there.
My stepdad still lives there on Bryden Drive in Akron. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like trying to understand. I'm like, why is this happening? This is unusual. This is not normal human behavior. This is fucked up. And then I eventually, from all the stress and the pressure, like I eventually get into this psychic space, and I'm viewing in the astral, and first the center of the image starts to come, and then it turns into this distorted geometry. They're not in harmony, so it's not a beautiful, perfect geometric face. So it's kind of weird and distorted. And then I grabbed a paper and my color pencils, and I channeled that whole thing in like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and just drew it all really quick. And so what I came to understand was that what I was dealing with being in this situation was I was dealing with this demonic entity who siphons from sacral energy, sexual sacral energy. And this entity was siphoning from my sacral energy and from her sacral energy. And I was, I had been manipulated into this situation. And so this ex-girlfriend, her name was China. She was a Black woman, and she was military. She got kicked out of the military. She told me she got kicked out because of marijuana, but turns out she got kicked out from a major psychosis problem. And so, the way I understood it was like, okay, she was MK Ultra sex kitten. She got me hooked up, and I'm in this fucking situation, and they're after my heart because I'm a sensitive lover boy, and this is a shitty situation, So,
I'm going, yeah, I know that one.
So I just wanted to share that because the guests you guys had on last night, I feel, if I'm qualified to be a part of his teachings and his team, I feel like what he has to offer could help me refine and hone into these abilities that I know I have, but are only really thriving in intense situations. You know what I'm saying? And then the next thing I wanted to share with you guys, is this. So this is a little. So I'm gonna show you guys the image, and then I'll explain to you what happens. So the second image, you see these two business cards, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kevin Perlman, Target.com. So the top one, the white one, worldwide campaign to remove me from society since childhood. For detailed situations, go to this website. And then the second business card, this was the second one that I came across. And there's all kinds of like little things in the background that if you read them, they're saying a lot of different things. But here are a few different websites of his. And so life before finding out at 29, Kevin Perlman, Target.com. So those are two business cards. The white one I found in 2021 when I was caretaking for my mother in Los Angeles and Woodland Hills, California. And
I think it just froze.
today the line was
His internet's going up and
social
down.
pressure.
Your internet's
is,
going up and down.
Your
Oh,
internet's
okay.
freezing in and out a little bit. Yeah. So if you could repeat all of that, what you just said.
Oh, okay. So, the white business card, how I found that was, am I still in? Is my internet good?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I was at Rite Aid picking up prescriptions for my mother in this long line, and I was disassociating, just standing in that line. And while I was disassociating, I suddenly had this thought to turn around and look what's behind me. And I turn around, and there's an end cap aisle, and on my eye level, there's water bottles stacked up, and I see that there's a business card right there. And I put my hand and I grabbed the business card, and it was that white one that says Kevin Perlman, Target Individual. And on the back of the card, it says some things too as well, like, are you a targeted individual? And I type in the website on my phone, and it's this man who's saying he's a targeted individual, and he's got all this crazy shit on his website. But the energy I was getting from it was like really weird. It felt very weird. So I was like, I'm not going to get into that right now. And I just put the business card in my wallet and then didn't dig any deeper. About another year or some months later, over a year later, I give a reading, an astrological reading to somebody. And then when I was done, I had this sudden craving to go get Chinese food at this one specific spot that was like a 40-minute drive. And the whole time I'm like, why am I going through all this effort driving in this shitty LA traffic to go to that one shitty Chinese restaurant when there's shitty Chinese restaurants everywhere? But for some reason, like, it's in my mind to go to that one. And I go to that one, I order my chow mein, my beef broccoli, and I'm sitting there. And while I'm sitting there, I realized that I have the photo somewhere in my photos, but I realized I had three dots on my wrist. And I was like, oh, is this one of those things that everyone talks about? The inoculations? Could be. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but I'll take a picture of it anyways. And, because this shit's crazy. So I always question it. I'm always like, and that was like the whole thing was like, so it's like,
Right. Welcome to our world.
I know. So I'm eating, right? And then I looked up.
Brenda nods her head.
I see out the window where the parking lot is, and there is this man driving a car, and the whole car has a wraparound graphic of that business card, the bottom one, and it says on the side of the car says, "Are you a targeted individual?" And there's all this. Yeah. And so then the guy stops. And he
Is
throws
that like you hit the target, Mario?
Dude. And the funny thing is where this Chinese restaurant was directly across the street from where I got hit by a car the second time, So I was at that exact same location almost 10 years later.
Are
and
you
so
a
then
target? Are you a
Dude.
targeted individual?
Are you a targeted individual? Because you got hit by a car twice.
right.
Hello,
It-
are we synchronizing here?
yeah. So the dude stops, and I see him throw a handful of business cards out his window at my van, and then
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
Don't hit me in
right.
the car.
So then I was like,
Mofo.
son of a bitch. So then I'm like, okay, I like shoved the last bite of food in my mouth, and I throw my tray away, and I walk out. And as I walk out, he speeds off and drives out into the road, and he's gone. And then, and I
my
have the
God.
video on my phone somewhere too, where I'm walking up
You're
and
like,
I'm
are
like,
you following me?
this guy just left all these fucking cards. And so I'm going to show you the cards again.
Oh my God.
So here they are. The white one here, this was the first one. Now this is the second one. So something and psychology, community, psychological torture, and kill operations to remove me from society since childhood. Now
Jesus
with worldwide
Christ.
support. Yeah. And so, and so his whole thing was, that he found out before he was 29 years old. And I was 29 when I came to the realization that, oh my gosh, I think I'm not only interested of this whole stuff because it's fascinating and it's the truth, but because I've also actually been involved in it. So, I don't know what the deal was. I don't know how this is working, but the fact that the first one I found when I was standing in a long line at the Rite Aid pharmacy, disassociating, and then having a random thought to look
many
behind
people
me.
disassociate when they're standing in line at the Rite Aid pharmacy.
Right, exactly. That's
Also-
what
Also, Mario, in Once Upon a Time, the prophecy says that Emma will start to know who she is when she turns like 28. So that's pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
She'll
that
be
you're
standing in
29.
line at the Rite Aid pharmacy.
Yeah. And then the second one is this other whole business card. And I've searched
Freaky.
I've looked at his Instagram. He has a few different Instagrams. He's got weird
Did you ever
things.
contact him?
No. I don't
No?
feel safe contacting him. He might be a
Right, 'cause
legit
he's
targeted
targeted.
individual, but the same person that I work with, I've talked with her as well, and she's like, "Oh no, don't. It's a honeypot." The dude CIA.
Something.
He's playing this whole
Especially
role.
since he got hit by a car twice there. That should be another sign.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
gonna-
exactly.
So I just want to swing you back again just one more time before we leave to the dream. And I want to ask you, so what happened to Mulder? What happened to Mulder? Just tell me, please.
He got brutally raped by a massive blue-eyed, blonde-haired, bodybuilding German guy with a red thong and red high socks. It was very detailed. It was very, very detailed. He was brutally raped.
Wow.
We couldn't do anything.
What do you think that means, Penny? I mean, and you're.
I think personally, I think that wherever Sam is not a good place. Okay, he's not in a good place. And Darrell isn't a bodybuilding guy, but he is. I think he's the son of Albert Speer. Maybe this is a demon in another realm that is a hell realm.
Well, I want to say, Tom.
I want to say one more thing.
Okay.
When I was at this church, okay, I was at James McDonald's church in Illinois, and the associate pastor's name was Mulder. Okay, so then when I'm homeless, I was sitting there and I was having visions in the church, looking at the PowerPoints, and I'm seeing like, is that Arizona? What are they showing me here? I'm seeing all this stuff in there, and then I say something well, Trump is in the Bible, right? Trump, they say when the last Trump is sounded. I say I'm supporting Trump. Trump's in the Bible. Well, James McDonald hated Trump, but he was also ended up eventually getting his own because he was stealing money, fiscal malfeasance from the church, and that was a church with the guy who wrote Jerry Jenkins, who wrote Left Behind series. Jerry Jenkins was in that church on the board, and so was Dallas Jenkins, who wrote Chosen. They were at that church. Okay. And then they kicked him out because he was stealing money from the church. But so when I'm on the road, I left there, I get a call from Mulder, okay, who says that, well, we want you to come into the church office because, you can't be telling people that Trump's in the Bible. And I said, excuse me, but that ain't gonna happen. I said, I was married to Dr. Zenos, and Dr. Zenos, the Zenoses, they actually created a religious cult. So don't be challenging me on any religion stuff. So then I went back after I found out that James McDonald triggered me, MK Ultra, with a phrase word. He came out and he said, I'm going to prophesy. And I'm like, what is that? And he looked straight at me and he started talking about John. And I had asked a question after I went to Branson. I was told that I should represent Todd Oliver, who's a dog ventriloquist. That's a whole nother thing. Don't even want to do that. But so I went back in the church and I'm praying and I'm crying and I'm saying, who should I represent? So I represent secular people, and I'm crying. And then he comes out and says, I'm going to prophesy. And I'm like, what's that? And there's a deaf guy that was standing in front of me. He'd been in that church for 40 years, Mario.
Wow.
God bless this guy. And he was deaf. But every time I sang, he turned his hearing aid off because I'm pretty loud. And so he says, I'm going to prophesy. And then he starts talking about John. And the last question I asked was, who's my next husband going to be? Okay, well, I'm praying and talking to God. And then I'm wondering, is this guy hearing me like in the green room? Are they printing out my thoughts somewhere? Because he comes out, he looks at me and he says, I'm going to prophesy. And then he starts talking about John. And he says, there was a man sent from God. His name is John. Well, I realized later on that that's an MK Ultra trigger word, because John told me in the 90s when I was having an affair with him, and he takes me to a fair. I'm sorry. He takes me to a fair. He has this big cinnamon roll. He's like, hey, you want one of these? I said, no, John, I don't eat fried foods. And I turn around and whoosh, it's gone. Like, it's his face. And then he says, hey, you want to know what my parents named me, John? And I'm like, not really, John, but I know you're going to tell me. And so he says, they named me after John in the Bible. There was a man sent from God. His name is John.
Mm-hmm.
A trigger. Yeah.
30 years later, that pastor says the same thing. And I feel like I'm going around asking the pastors, can you be anointed via words? Because I was spelled like Susie says, but actually those were MK Ultra code words that John had said to me. And now this pastor says it to me 30 years later, and I feel sick to my stomach. And then I go back to Bill Hybels' church, and both of those church leaders fell. I cried in their churches, and both of them fell because Bill Hybels fell due to sexual impropriety, because he was getting blowjobs from the maid in his house, and his wife was going blind, probably because she didn't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So
Penny.
when I went back to the church, I went back and I was angry because I'm realizing all this stuff, right? And I go in and they give me the program, and I take the program. I'm not even, Mulder comes after me, right? He comes after me, and I take the program and I see him coming at me. I take it and I go, and he comes up to me and he says, now are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm pissed at David Duchovny right now. And he says, well, you're not going to rabble rouse, are you? I said, rabble rouse? Like Jesus? Is that what you're talking about? They're going to rabble rouse in your church? That's the end. Go ahead, Susie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my thoughts on this is that okay, and this is, I'm going to ask you something in a minute, Tom. So my thoughts on this is that being that you saw raping, right? Okay, that was a demon.
Mm-hmm.
And that demon was in the avatar of somebody who is very well liked, very powerful, very affluent. That's why it had that big, strong, and I'm going to say those are the leaders of the religious organizations that are doing the thing. That's the avatar. They're using the platform to do these things, and that's why I want to go with you, Tom, because you have life experiences with these big time people who are looked at as like hero type people, but what they're doing is they're raping the men that were violently within the church. And so that's what I wanted to come to you, Tom, with that.
That's right. If I would have accepted the rape process, then I would have had the position Ralph Reed has. So that's exactly it. I mean, literally his position. He's one that's replaced me. So it's that gravy thing that like Will Smith or somebody talked about, where it's like you have to have your hands dirty. Well, you have to have that sexual act with another man in order to advance in that circle. We've just gotten word too that Brian Fitzpatrick, the lifelong FBI operative, right? That's the congressman, Pennsylvania, that has my sister in the pocket. That that he's engaged in many activities with young underage and everything else. It's common knowledge among the circles, and that's just disgusting that our country is actually functioning that way. That these people that are taking our country the wrong way are actually involved in this pedophile stuff, and they look the other way. Same thing happened.
Yeah, that demon is wearing that, that powerful avatar in these positions. Yeah.
That's interesting because I had a vision of Pat Robertson back when all this was happening, and I didn't understand the vision at first. There was the one, like a waking vision, right? And it had his face, almost like that stick mask face of his. Behind it was a devouring giant caterpillar. It was just like devouring the land. And it was like, that was the one image that I saw. It was like this mask that wasn't even a person. It was this mask of Pat Robertson. And then he was this devouring insect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you say that demon's name was Baal?
Yeah, the one in the attic, the one in the top attic.
Okay, so that means Lord. So it would be a lord over people. So like a pastor will be lord over its congregation, or a congressman may be lord over. Yes, yeah.
They give themselves
it's a position.
Kind of in their
It's like a position. Like they're the master of that position. Yes,
it's in the Masons, Susie. We know it. Like, I mean, it's something I'm saying, too. It's in the Masons. It's the master, all that stuff. Grand master, and that's so wild because Robertson had the same thing where he actually changed the name of his grad school from CBN University to Regent University because he was going to be ruling in place of God. That was the plan. So isn't it incredible? It's like, so these titling is very much a big part of their thing. And they like to have nicknames, like Bush had that too. He nicknamed all his staff. They use nicknames on all of us,
Yeah, Bush was Magog, I think.
Yeah, they all have these different, which is interesting. If you go back to the, what was it, the Nostradamus, right? The final third is supposed to have like what is the final letters? It's like 5 letters or something. M-A or Anyway, it's wild to see these letters that are supposed to represent in our time, and it's not hard to start drawing some conclusions, because if you look at Pat Robertson, for instance, he was actually imitating Nostradamus' prediction, and here's what it is.
Now, Pat Robertson, Tom, what did he have a very particular boyfriend that he was with, or he was trying to get with you?
I was supposed to be his boyfriend. I was the
okay.
one being groomed, so I was supposed to be Ralph Reed would probably be his boyfriend, because I was supposed to be groomed that I would be Pat Robertson's boy, and that's what I was told by Dr. Harry Sova.
His boy toy, huh?
I would be his one, right? That's why Jerry Falwell talks about the guy, the pool boy, whatever, and claims that he watched him have sex with his wife. No, he's having sex with a pool boy, and that's what Sova did with me when I was roofied on the trip. And so he had told me that Robertson wanted me to be his guy.
Wow.
So they each have their own. They claim you within the organization, and then your trophies within the organization as young men. It's amazing. But Nostradamus predicted that the third one would rise by the man-made mountain in the east. So what did Pat Robertson do? He built a man-made mountain in the east. Virginia Beach is in the east. He built a man-made mountain, and they called it, nicknamed it Trashmore 2, because they made Virginia, it's very flat, right? Virginia Beach is flat. So they took the trash and they made it into this park mountain. So Robertson wanted one too. So Robertson had a mountain next to his organization on his property, a man-made mountain in the east. So,
Wow.
and then the plan
Yeah.
was to interview Christ when Christ returned, but they're going to simulate that. It's just
They're
wow.
going to interview Christ.
That's crazy.
That's why they cleansed out the Matrix story. They kept the same ending with identical figures facing off at the end, right? And hands bleeding, looking up. That was supposed to be Christ's figure. They give it to Neo. And then the pulse wave renewing the earth and coming back. Christ returns, facing off with the other figure looking like Christ. Well, that's because I was whispering through art what Robertson's plan was. His plan was to simulate with Hollywood Christ's return on the man-made mountain that would complete
Oh my God.
the thing. And then Christ is supposed to, in the special effects, believe it or not, give over the power to Robertson to rule. That's why he called it Regent University.
What?
Yes, that's what the Hollywood was working with. Then the Toronto Star did an article on it that was actually what they were planning. That he was
Wow.
going to predict the second coming, and they were going to simulate it along with Spielberg and the rest.
Damn.
All right, guys.
That's
We
why they
only
kept
have-
it out of the Matrix story. It's in the that's what's in the that's why they kept the same ending. But wait till you see the film the way it's
Wow.
supposed to be. You'll see the
Well,
exact plan that I learned when I was supposed to be number one boy for Pat Robertson.
Wow.
Well, we only got a couple minutes left, y'all. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up.
Yeah. There's
All right,
I
you know,
can't wait
guys,
to actually
I mean,
talk about this
great.
at events and things too, because I want to show what I have and just blow
Yes.
people's minds. But
I know
Peggy's,
it.
yeah.
Tom
Mario,
blows my
where
mind
can people
anyways.
find you?
If Pat
Thank you, Mario,
Robertson,
for that dream. Yes.
Yeah.
and Pat Robertson
Yeah.
missed out on Dr. Lampshade because that is just phenomenal.
Right.
That is. So
Is it-
Mario,
Mario,
where
where
can
can people
everybody
find
find
you?
you?
Have
And
3
Penny, I'm
minutes.
glad you escaped from that whole, cesspool of, corruption, because you ran out of there.
what whispering through
Yes.
art is what I said. Whispering through art. Yeah.
She's
So
doing
that's what I did.
she's doing the horn, y'all.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Mario, where can people
I
find
mean,
you?
Susie,
Quickly.
be quiet.
Yeah,
Mario, where can
you can
everybody
find
find
me on YouTube at Unscripted Liberation Codes. My website is starseedsalsa.com. Facebook as Mara Mijares CHT. Yep.
And Tom Outhouse, where can people find you? And how can they contribute to getting your movie made?
I always have to look at it because you know it better than I do.
I told you I put it in my phone.
It's
because
the
you
one
can
time
never
like
remember
Hollywood
it.
She's
says,
the executive producer here.
Hollywood
Okay,
says that I
so
read a
his
script.
his
but the
PayPal
only thing I
is
script is that.
at Reclaim Matrix.
Yeah, at Reclaim Matrix. That's my PayPal.
Can't remember that. That's
Yeah,
like-
and the
that's
Dream
okay.
Team and the Dark Outpost and on Triage Team, but with Penny.
And the Awake
Rose,
Nation.
Yes. And Susie Q, where can people find you?
Here, the Awake Nation, the Dark Outpost, and on Facebook, Suzanne Hott.
And if you'd like to contribute to
Next.
Suzanne, you can send her money for her rescue dogs at bowarrowhorses@yahoo.com or at shepherdentertainment@gmail.com. My name is Penny Lay Shepherd. I'm executive producer of The Awake Nation, which is Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, 9 to 12 Eastern. And we have the Dark Outpost. You can join it for $30 per year. It's darkoutpost.tv. We have Suzanne Hott on there, Hot Shots. We have Tom Outhouse, which is a dream team, and they're both on the Awake Nation every other Friday. And then you can also find me at Patriots Perspective with Christy Tasker, and you can also find me here on Beyond the Box. And Beyond the Box is every Friday and Saturday from 9 to 11 Central, that's PM, and from 10 to 12 midnight Eastern.
Thank
did
you,
it.
Penny.
Freezing for some reason. I'm so cold. Ooh. It's like an iceberg.
Right? You must have
in
your air
here.
conditioner on.
16 I leave it at 69 year round. I just, for some reason, am really cold right now.
Well, it's, after being bitten by a venomous snake,
Yeah,
Do it.
maybe it happens, I guess. I don't know.
your nerves are a little shot.
We have 1 minute.
Just a little. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mario, for coming. It was always a delight when you're here. I get so much information. And thank you, everybody who's watching. Brett, Norma, I see you guys. And we're going to wrap it up.
Love you guys.
And
God bless y'all.
we will be back next weekend. And like always, y'all, be kind to one another. Bye-bye.
Goodbye for now from Beyond the Box. Inside, outside, upside, downside, beyond the box. Please join us again for Beyond the Box, Friday and Saturday evenings from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern. Join us for more intel bombs with our extraordinary guests.
Break it down.
Inside, outside, upside, downside, beyond the box.
Break it down.
Good night, Putin. Good night, Tucker Carlson.